Hey guys, so another night here in the workshop working on the 60. So tonight's goal is to do my Nissan front diff center conversion. So you can see here I've got the two different diff centers. This is the Toyota 8-inch front center from a Land Cruiser, and this is a Nissan Patrol GU front center. You can obviously see why we're doing the conversion. The size difference is massive, and these are far superior in terms of strength when we're putting big tires and power through them. I actually run one of these in my SAS Hilux, and I've run the same center for about 10 years now, and I haven't actually had a drama. I've always been conscious of the fact that it is a little bit, bit weak, but having it built correctly with a solid pinion spacer, getting the gears set up right so they mesh well, and good bearing preload and stuff, they are actually pretty reliable and pretty strong. I always get my diffs built by one fella, John from JMac out here at Sydney, and he does really good work, and that's all he does is diffs, and so as a result, he knows what he's doing, and I've never had a drama with it, but I also will have a lot more power with the LS, so I just want to do this for a bit of security and peace of mind, and I've got to build a center anyway, so while I'm going, I might as well build this center instead of this center, because I don't have a locker to suit either one at the moment. So that's pretty much it. So tonight I'm just going to go through putting this in the factory Land Cruiser housing. Surprisingly, they actually do fit, even though this is so much bigger than this one. I've not done the conversion myself, but John at JMac does. He makes up these adapter rings that you can sort of use as a bit of a template to get this positioned correctly and sort of get it in the housing. In terms of making the axles and stuff work, it's not too big a deal. You can't do it with an open center, you have to do it with a locker, but surprisingly when you do it with a locker, the ARB or TGM, whoever, the side gears that the axles lock into with the splines are different between the axles, but the side gears are interchangeable within the locker. So you just build this center with a ARB locker, say, with the right ratio to suit, which is 4.3 for a 105, and then we buy from ARB a set of side gears to suit an 80-105 front locker, and we drop them into the locker for the GU because they're an interchangeable part. And then when we put it in the housing, the axles will slot straight in, the depths are even correct, so the splines will engage fully, and there's no weird custom stuff really going on apart from the fact that the center has those different side gears, and we've modified it to obviously bolt in. But in terms of like interchangeability later on, if I ever blow a center, all I've got to do is make sure that I swap the side gears out of the locker into another locker if somehow something happened. Otherwise, it's pretty simple. Like this conversion's pretty common in like winch trucks. If you're running a rock crawler with like an 80 front end and they put this center in. My mate Nick that we do Cliffy and stuff in his 40, he's got this conversion done, and we've never had a drama with it. It's been really good. So that's what I'm going to do tonight. Hopefully I can get this all sorted, and if it goes well, I'll move on to some other jobs I've got here, but I think this will probably take all night. So before I do get stuck into doing this, I just want to say a massive thanks to everyone who's sort of been watching all my previous videos. The feedback's been great, especially on the last video I did. I was a bit unsure how that would be received because it was quite technical. So just leave a comment below if you do want to see more videos like that, or if you just want to see more videos like this where there's a bit going on, and it's just an update on the general build itself, just so I know what you guys actually like seeing, because there's no point in me filming this and you don't care about it, you want to see more of that or whatever. So leave a comment below. I do read them obviously, and that way I can sort of like direct the videos to suit. Like I like the technical sort of stuff obviously. There's plenty of other channels out there that just make exciting sort of videos of people welding stuff together, but if you do like the info stuff, I'm happy to keep making them, but otherwise I'll just keep doing the 60 series updates. So I'll get into this now. So I've got my 105 front housing here, which is also an 80 series front housing really. The only differences are out on the hubs. And then we've got this ring that John makes up that we'll probably put on our website to make it available for guys, because he doesn't have a website or anything for that sort of stuff. So this is laser cut plate. It's got all the threaded holes ready to go for the GU center to bolt to. It's got a few tabs here to locate it correctly, to get the offsets right and stuff. And then it's also machined on the back to set the depths and everything, and it's got a lip built into it for welding and whatnot. And we simply bolt it in place like this onto the studs that are existing. I'll have to cut this off to get it on there. But you would simply slide it onto the existing studs. That'll locate it, and then we weld it on. Once it's all welded, we can obviously remove all these studs. We then unfortunately have to cut all this stuff out that's in the way, and then we can bolt the new center in, and basically that's it. There's obviously a little bit more to it than what I just said, but that's essentially the steps. So I'll just go through doing that now, and hopefully it goes forward. Hopefully it goes pretty straightforward. But yeah, like I said, I've not actually done this, but he's done a heap with them and he reckons it's not that big a deal. So we'll see how it goes. So first step, obviously, for making the ring fit is I'm just removing all these studs. I've got to keep these two so that the ring will actually bolt on. So I'm just double nutting these and then backing them out. Not really too hard. So I'm just going to remove this old gasket and prep all this area for welding and everything before I go ahead and bolt the new sort of flange on, so that way all this is nice and clean and there's no crap in there to try and, like, you know, wreck the weld once I go through and burn it all on. So I'll just buzz all that off and clean it all up all the way around nicely, and then we'll put the flange on and go through that. Okay, so I've cleaned up all the surface, removed all the old sort of gasket material and cleaned up the paint all the way around the outside where I've got to weld this on. So now I'll just slot this onto these studs that I've left in there to do this. So that's it nice and home now. I'll just bolt it up nice and snug. All right, so that's it located. So what I'm going to do now is just give it 2 real light tacks so that I can remove these 2 last studs, and that'll locate it. And then I'm going to go through and remove all this material all the way around, which is not going to be fun. And then once that's done, I'll bolt the center in to keep it nice and flat to the surface, and then I'll go through and weld it rather than weld it and risk this warping, because obviously there's going to be a lot of weld all the way around. I don't want it to pull, because then I'll have to take it and get it machined somewhere nice and flat. But having all these bolts done up into the center will keep it nice and flat and real good, and then I can just give it a little file finish at the end. Okay, so I've got this tacked into position, so essentially it's pretty much where it's got to go. It can't be sort of moved because it's welded in place. So I can go ahead and remove these 2 last studs. Once I remove the studs, I can go through and do the real fun job of cutting all this old stuff out that's in the way of the new center. And then I'll drop the center in, bolt it into all the pickup points, and I'll just go ahead and straight weld it in. So we'll see how long this grinding takes. I don't think it's going to be a real fun job, to be honest. Well, that wasn't real fun. I've got most of it blown out with the plasma. I didn't have any extra consumables. We don't use the hand plasma that much, and I wanted to get it done tonight, so I was sort of juggling the best of a bad set of 3 different set of tips, really. But I got it done, and I'll have to now go through and clean the rest up with a grinder. So I'll get that all cleaned up, and then we can put the center in and sort of see how it fits up. So I've done half. It's actually surprisingly not that bad, to be honest, using a grinding wheel. So you can see there, I've removed the back half of the material all the way around. It's actually tidied up pretty good. You can see what I've got to work with from the top where I've still plasmaed out, but then from the bottom down, it's pretty tidy. I've removed that ear on that side, but I've still got this one to go. So I don't think that really took too long. So I'll just I'll flip the diff around, knock out the top half, and then we should be right to sort of see if we can get this crown wheel in here. So just a bit of an update. I got the center in and it was sort of hitting on the back and I was struggling to see. So I've just cut the face off. It's just here. I just sort of thought it would be easier to just put it back on and then I'll be able to see what's going on inside rather than pull the center in and out like 150 times. So now that I've got that out, I've got 2 studs here, I can throw it in, see if it's hitting on any of this stuff, and if it was just rubbing on that, because it was just the crown wheel was rubbing on something, if it's just that, at least I can get it all nicely bolted up, and then I can always just space that out to suit or make a new one or something. All right, that's about as far on as it went last time. Now I can roll it over and see what the go is. Not really, it starts to fall out. Maybe I'll just throw these nuts on. All right, so crown wheel's now tight. So if we roll over, oh yeah, you can see it's just rubbing on the top of the crown wheel and the bottom there. So I'll just clear that out. That bolt's pretty close too, actually. Whereas this one's well clear. Weird. Got it in. I've only got 2 studs done. I'll just go through and wind all the rest in and then tighten it down. But otherwise it's ready for welding. And after taking the face off, it really helped, made it much easier to see all this. In hindsight, it probably should be the first thing you do, because then it would also make grinding all of the front flange out not really a big deal, because all the sparks would shoot out rather than bounce back and try and hit you in the face the whole time. But got it done. It's taken a few hours, but it's not really been super hard, really. So now I can go through and weld all this up, and then we should be ready to put a new front on this. I'm not sure whether I'll put that back on or if I'll make a new one up to go on here that's sort of a bit stronger and, you know, gives us enough room to not hit the crown wheel if it rubs. But otherwise, yeah, pretty good. All right, so that'll do for tonight, I think. I've got the center in and it's working. I've just got to put the face on. This is all welded up. The face doesn't quite fit back on now. I'll just have to think about it and decide whether or not I could cut like a flange, kind of like what I just welded on this side. around there as a ring, like, you know, like 12 mil or something, to space that out, and then put this back on, because then you get like sort of that factory look. Or the alternative is to put like a new, stronger sort of face on it, similar to what our hybrid diffs would be, or like our sheet metal housings, and you'd end up with something like one of them. So I could fold up something like that for the front, and that would sort of work as armor and also a new cover, rather than sort of bodgy this up and then still have to put armor on it to stop it denting when full driving. So that's probably what I'll do, but I'll just have to work it out tomorrow and measure it up, see if it'll be too hard sort of for the effort required. But yeah, so I'll get onto that tomorrow, Arvo. Hey guys, so having another night here in the shed to work on the 60. I'm just going to finish off the front diff conversion that I started last week. This has dragged out a little bit. I had a few nights off. You can probably see I've got a band-aid here on the side of my head. I was lifting some stuff out of the back of my ute and it got caught on a strap and absolutely leveled me in the car park actually. I've got the security footage, I'll play it now. I've had to have a few nights off. I've got a huge lump on the back of my head. So we're back at it now. In my lunch breaks at work, I have put the face back on. Because the GU center is bigger, the crown wheel sticks out a little bit more, and it was actually rubbing on the factory front sort of face. So to put this on so it cleared, I had to space it out about 20 mil here, but it kind of looked a bit crappy, to be honest. So this is actually the face of a rear diff of a landcruiser. So you can see it says LSD oil, and it's got the little brackets here for the proportioning valve and stuff on the back of a landcruiser. But I cut that off the back of an 80 series rear housing I had that was had some burnt out stub axles. So it was going in scrap bin anyway. So I've managed to put that on, and that actually fits the crown wheel. Surprisingly, it actually still fits on here really well. So it doesn't actually like overlap or anything crazy. And it fits the crown wheel in there nicely. And once it's all sort of painted up and stuff, you wouldn't even really know that I've done the swap, which is sort of what we wanted to go for, you know. Keep it nice and lightweight and sort of factory looking, which is sort of the look I'm going for throughout the whole build. So tonight I will just cut off these coil and shock mounts. Obviously we're not going to use them for the new setup, so I can lose them on both sides. We will lose these steering stops here, but we can put some new ones back on. And then I can get it in the car and we can start looking at bump stops, and we can check clearances with the center on the motor here compared to the 80 center in that. So I'll get into that now. All right, after a lot more grinding, I think we're ready to put this in the car. So now we have a bare 80-105 housing. It's just got the radius arm mounts, panhard bracket, and the front steering stops on there still. So the steering stops are sort of important because normally there's one on the front and the back, but I've cut the back ones off because they were part of sort of the coil and shock tower combo. But I tried to make sure I left the front ones on so I could still set the knuckles to full lock back left and right while I'm doing all my shock and wheel clearances. And then we'll be able to build a new stop into the back here when we do our sort of rear shock mount. So it's sort of important to try and leave them on there so that when we're under the car, it's easy to see sort of where everything will go when it's at full lock. Otherwise, it's basically a bare housing, and we've just got our GE conversion done here. New faceplate, a few studs in there to hold the center, and we're ready to go. So I'll probably call it there. So next episode we'll go through putting this in, setting bump stop heights, and go through, I guess, probably putting the cab on as well. So make sure you like and subscribe and leave any comments with any questions you might have or any ideas for future videos, so I can make sure that I cover everything you guys want to see and we don't skip over anything interesting. Otherwise, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.